World, there we go. Yep. Take two. Hello world. It's Lee Kelson here from Beach City, coming live from the Gold Coast University Hospital at the Intelligent Innovation Showcase.
Very good.
That'll do.
Good job, Lee. Yeah.
And I'm here with Cris Smith, not the Cris Smith, but a Cris Smith.
Exactly right. That's right. Thanks for having me on.
Pleasure. And so, Cris, you are from Brandon Capital Partners. Mm-hmm. So, what do you guys do?
We manage a life science investment fund. We have a little over $500 million to invest in Australian life science innovation. So we're here to really try and drive the innovation cycle, make sure the Australian inventions get developed here, and really push this next wave of innovation for Australia.
Yep. That's great. So I've had a little bit of experience in sort of biotech and medical. I started a biotechnology company many years ago in another life, but capital was really difficult to come by. What's the market like now?
Well, that's amazing. You think about probably a few years ago there was almost none. We were almost the only people with any fresh dry powder, as they called it, available, and that's at Brandon Capital. In the last few years, really pleasingly, the industry's really picked up. There's probably, if I look around and just count up the life science dedicated funds, there's probably almost $1 billion of investment looking for Australian innovation.
Right.
It's a healthy time. This is the place to be at the moment. It's really going to change.
Right. And we've talked to and seen some amazing artificial intelligence in health stuff today. I mean, it really is, and it's fantastic that Kelvin and the guys have pulled this together. But I guess I was just talking to Skin Analytics earlier on, and they told us the story about how they couldn't get support here and had to go to Cambridge and back again. I mean, it's a bit of a travesty that we find that sort of thing happening in Australia. What do you think that's from?
It's multifactorial. It's really difficult. A lot of it's to do with expertise. Out of any investor, they need to understand what you're doing. Right. Especially if you're going to go into opportunities like that are very expensive, very risky. Yep. You want investors who know what they're doing, and we as an industry know that we have to understand the technologies we're investing in. So there's partly that. I think a few years ago there wasn't much money around, and it's very difficult to find it. So that's another factor. And historically, Australians have a slightly risk-averse appetite. It was only a few years ago the mining boom was taking off. Why would you invest in the stuff we do if you can get double-digit growth somewhere else? Those days are over. This is a new chapter. A new chapter,
and happy to hear that. So when you looking at these, my own experience was from the buy-sell perspective was we had to get TGA approval, we had to do clinical trials. There's a whole load of stuff, and a lot of investors that I talk to and people I know from the Valley and in my network sort of say they won't touch this stuff because it's too risky, it's too long. The return on investment could be 20 years. Are you investing long term in this stuff? Is that the way you look at these investments?
Yeah, absolutely. Our typical investment and looking at some of the big successes we've had, they've all been 7 to 10 years, and if not more. We've got some investments that we're still very heavily backing, and we've been invested since 2007, so we're coming into the 11th year.
Right.
They're great investments. They're going to return well. Yep. But part of our industry, if it's going to take 10 more years and it's going to be very risky, you better make sure that the returns are there.
Yep.
And so this is a real industry where you've got to shoot for the moon.
Right.
It's all blue sky. Don't go mediocre. Don't make the next Me Too. Don't make a.
Right.
There's no incremental innovation in the place we work. It's got to be transformative for world health.
Right. Okay. And so that leads me to my next question: is what are the sorts of things that you look for in the types of technologies that you invest in?
Well, the old joke of how can you tell a VC in the room? He's the guy looking for the exit. That's the. And that's unfortunately now that I'm a VC, that's what a venture capitalist does. We need to look at what's it going to look like when we leave. How is this going to? Who's going to buy it? How much they're going to pay with it? What difference is it going to make to a patient, the payers? Is it going to affect the clinical practice at all? How's it going to affect reimbursers? And how are the investors going to make money? And unless you can tick all of those boxes, every single one of them, you miss out on one, and your idea falls over. Yep. So we're usually looking at that, and then obviously, can you develop it? Is it world class? Is it competitive?
Right.
It's tough.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a tough gig investing in that space. I know from my own experiences. I got out with the shirt on my back. But so you saw some presentations and pitches there from some of the startups in there. I think there's half a dozen of them. What was your impression of what you saw?
Oh, fantastic, world-class science, and that's what you're looking for. Coming to a setting like this, a university like this, and a hospital here, we talk about having world-class science. Australia does have world-class innovation or world-class science, but innovation is about making one. And the nice thing to see about those pictures was that these guys and girls are actually doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I've made one. I've made a prototype. I'm getting down that.
Right.
And that's what's so important, being brave enough to go down that journey. And,
Yep.
and Queensland and Australia now are really starting to give some of the early money for people to be able to make those prototypes, which means people like us can come in and put some heavy investment into to
Right.
back them. So that's really exciting. Another thing that was themed amongst all of them, they've all got on a plane. They've all got on a plane, they've all gone to the US, they've all gone to Europe. They understand the market. They understand that making the best medical device for Queensland isn't helpful.
Right.
You've got to make the best device for the world.
Yeah.
And it's fabulous to see that they've done that, and it's really important.
Yeah. So for startups out there that might be looking to, or they're in that medical device or medical solution space and they want to raise capital, what would your advice be to them?
Well, there's lots of capital around.
Right.
Obviously, do as much as you can before you go and ask for investment.
Right. So just on that, when you say do as much as you can, look, I talk to a lot of startups, and what I see, a lot of the focus is, from my perspective, disappointingly, is I've got this idea, I'm going to put a pitch deck and I'm going to go and raise investment. I'm saying, well, why don't you go and sell some customers? That'd be a good idea. So,
Yeah.
So from your perspective, what does that look like? Do as much as you can.
Do as much as you can. There's lots of support from government now, local, state, national governments that can get you a little bit further along. Sometimes it's grant fundable for a while. Investment capital is very expensive. We should be one of the last resorts for
Right.
funding. Okay, and you should try and take it as far as you can. It'll mean you've got more potential to raise money, and more likely to get a positive outcome.
Yeah.
The other thing I'd advise people to do is understand your market. Make sure you're the world best. On understanding what it is. And it doesn't mean you have to be the next Bill Gates. It just means you need to understand your particular area very well, and not just the academic side, not just the commercial side. The whole gamut comes together. And then finally, don't ever cold call anyone.
Right.
Never cold call anyone. Find a way to get an introduction, find a way to go to a conference, meet someone at the bar. Do not. It's the success rate for that is very, very difficult.
Right.
And you're far better off to find a good excuse to sit down and have a beer with someone.
Yeah. So what you're saying is you're more impressed or influenced by people that have actually understand their market, get on a plane, have pushed the product as far as they can go by bootstrapping, family, friends,
Yep.
credit cards,
Yeah.
robbing Peter to pay Paul,
Yeah.
all of that,
Yeah.
and then you sort of get a confidence that they're actually going to be at 4 o'clock in the morning. They're going to be the guys and girls that are up and out of bed and making this thing happen.
Yeah, that's right. And sometimes you see people with their houses mortgaged to pay for their options. There is overcommitment too, because then you can't see the negative. Because sometimes you have to back away from these things and say, actually, it just doesn't work.
Yep.
But if you're that committed, then sometimes you can't see that, or
Yeah.
you can't afford to. So there is a counter argument to that.
Yeah.
But remember, so much about investing. If you talk about these long-term investments, 7, 10, 15-year investments, you'll be working with your investors. They're on your board. You'll be talking to them every single day. You will be on a plane with them every day. You'll be working together, right? That's a huge commitment.
Yeah.
And if you're going to get into a marriage like that, you want to get to know the person, because who they are
Yep.
is pretty important to whether you make that investment or not. So the people side of our business
Yeah.
is as important as the technology.
So I mean, it works both ways. You've got to sort of work with them, but more importantly, they're inviting you into their house and into their family.
Without a doubt, yes, yeah. And I often tell this to people: do diligence on your investors as well. While they're doing diligence on you,
Yeah.
make sure they are someone that you can go on that journey with.
Yeah.
It's great fun, but it's a long one.
Yeah. All right, Chris. On that note, that's a great way to finish. So do your due diligence from both sides.
Yeah.
And are you hanging around for the rest of the day?
Certainly am. Yeah, on a panel later on. So it's a great day.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Chris.
Yeah, cheers.